this past weekend. Welcome, July 24th. Soon you're gonna die. We're out here. A little bit of Einstein, a little bit of Dexter. We got everybody out here today. What's up, guys? Welcome to this past weekend. I'm Theo Vaughn. It is Monday, July 24th. July 24th, that means that August is coming on. August is coming on fast. You know, quickly. I don't know if you've ever seen those relay races where it's the Olympics, you know, and it's usually the long distance relay or something, and they got some white team is winning from Finland or, you know, some snow land. You know, from one of those snow, one of those cultures that lives in those snow villages. You know, in America, we get out these snow villages and these snow globes. People put them out around Christmas and the holidays. But they have a team, that's winning the Olympic race. But then suddenly, boy, a couple of a little more tinted skin, might be a brother, might be a mixed man. Somebody comes running around the bend at the end and closes in on you fast. And that's autumn right now. That's fall. Autumn almost upon us. For some, I guess like in Michigan and stuff, you guys or is August still summer? You folding it up? I don't know. I live in Los Angeles. There's no seasons here. You can wear one dirty t-shirt. You know, you don't have to, there's no commitment. You don't have to do anything. In Los Angeles, you can just be here. And just scream about one world and everybody is the same and everybody's good and never, you know, face any of the realities that are going on out in the world. You can do that here. But I know that that's not the truth. I know that autumn is coming. Fall is coming for some people, you know, and that's the reality. Good to be here, guys. I'm happy to be here, man. I had a good weekend. I didn't get into a ton of stuff, you know. I didn't get into the news, the Trump Jr., Trumpelstiltskin. Somebody took a Trump in my yard, bro. It's like the news, honestly, it's like the news has Asperger's and they start flopping off, you know. When I was growing up, they had this boy in my neighborhood, and they called him One Love. That was his name, and he was mentally handicapped. And they called him One Love. And he would just stand by his house, by the porch, and all day he just yelled, "One more day, I can't wait." That's what he said. One more day, I can't wait. And that's all he said, man. That's all he ever said. There was a couple of months where he recited a few Aerosmith lyrics. And I don't know what got into him. I think that was around when Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses were touring together. So he might have caught some of the excitement. You know, even through his disability, some of the excitement might have found its way through his disability into his brain and into his livelihood. And I remember that was a beautiful time, you know. When he would set off a little bit of "Dude looks like a lady," you know, and that got everybody in the neighborhood kind of fired up. But One Love, he had that Asperger's. He had something. You know, he had a little bit of, he had something. He was caught hard. You know, he was caught hard by the elements. You know, he's one of God's favorites, they call him sometimes, people that have some disabilities. And a beautiful boy, you know, and I think the daddy had left him, and so it was just, I think it was just maybe his mother and his grandmother raising him. But anyhow, he had that. And that's what I think of the news today. It's Asperger's. It is 24 hours a day Asperger's. They have just got to the point where they don't have any brain left, or very little brain, and they're just yelling the same things over and over again. Whether you believe things they're saying or not, it's just ridiculous. It's Asperger's at this point. And that's why I think the only safe places to get your news anymore are from dreams, rumors, hearsay, smoke signals, and Ouija boards. Homemade Ouija boards too, not the store-bought ones, because those are commercialized and who knows who's behind them. Probably Nike, okay? But yeah, so I'm staying out of the news. What else am I doing, dude? Let me look here. Oh, I did see one thing in the news about USA Today had an article, okay? USA Today had an article where people were complaining about the lack of women and no lead actors of color in Dunkirk. And Dunkirk is a film that's out right now. Dunkirk, it's amazing. And guess what? I'm sorry, but there's white people in it. It's a story about how white people attacked some other white people, and then those white people were beating them up, and then some good white people came and rescued those original white people. You know, and I just want to apologize, I think, on a national basis for being an adult white male. It is, I know we're not allowed to be that anymore, and I'm sorry. I mean, it'll probably only be another 50 years that I'll be alive, so you won't have to, so just bear with me. Bear with me, humanity, you know? And I'm all about equality, yeah. But I don't like forced film casting. I don't like it, you know? Because honestly, I never got over Black Annie. I never got over Black Annie. I don't know if you've seen Annie. The first one, was okay. Black Annie, nobody liked it. Even black people were like, why do we have to be Black Annie? I just don't like it, man. What's next, you know? What's next? Are we going to do a above the rim with white people or Vietnamese people? You know? I mean, if we're going to be, you know, if we're going to do it, then let's do it. But let's don't, I mean, you can't, Dunkirk, amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, best movie I've seen since Shawshank Redemptions. And that's when Andy Dufresne sneaks through the shit pipe and catches his freedom that he is well deserved of, and Brooks was here. But anyhow, I just can't believe this. You know, Dunkirk's an amazing film. Check it out. But this article, USA Today, complaining about lack of women. Where are you going to put, I mean, there were some women, there were nurses, there were these men's mothers that were behind them that you could tell they wanted to get home to see their mothers and wives. There were women there in spirit. I don't see a ton of men in the movie A Girl's Trip, you know. But are men complaining about it? No. Because that's fine. Just God, man. Come on, you know? Next thing, they'll be complaining if you don't have a woman trapped inside of your body, if you're not transgender, if you don't have, you know, then people are gonna be complaining. People are gonna meet you on the street and be like, oh, come on, where you don't have a woman trapped inside of you? What's going on with you, boy? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And that's why I say about the news, man. It's Asperger's. You think anybody really believes this? No. That's the thing. And they get me to talk about it. They get me to think about it and fired up, you know. But they can only fool you for so long with the news. They can only fool you for so long, you know. I mean, at a certain point, it's almost nice to know that the news is just bullshit, you know. That it's just not real anymore, that it's finally you realize that it's not good for you. You know, you just realize that it's not even adding value to your life, which I think that's what the news used to do, was have an added value. And if something's not adding value, I mean, that's when it's time to let it go. But anyhow, I can't wait to see Dunkirk 2, you know, starring Charlize Theron and Lena Dunham. You know, can't wait to see it, dude. When they get attacked by a group of transgender aliens, fortunately, they get rescued by Ezekiel Elliott and who else? Catwoman, whoever Catwoman is. So look forward to that sequel, Dunkirk 2. What else, man? I've been working out a little bit. I'm in pain. I don't know if you've ever been in that much pain. Bad pain. Getting older pain. This is, all of a sudden, this sounds like one of those commercials that you hear on a podcast. Man, I've been in pain recently. Have you been in pain? Oh, you know what helps me? Unpain. Unpain.com/Theo. No, I thought I was in shape. That's what I'm starting to realize. I thought I was in shape. You know, I thought I was a shape. If you'd have picked a shape and said, well, what shape are you? I would have named a shape. Oh, I'm a triangle, or I'm a lexicon, or I'm an octagonon. But now I don't even know if I'm in a shape anymore. I feel like I'm just sort of something that's kind of piecemeal, just don't have a lot of shape going on in me at this point, I've been in a lot of pain in my legs. I've been seeing a trainer, beautiful young lady named Molly. Great trainer and a good friend, and she's a sweetheart. She works with me. She's very supportive, which is what your trainer should be. They should just be able. They should be supportive, I feel. But man, I mean muscles. I apparently have a muscle going from like my ankle to my nuts, bruh. Because every time I kind of turn my knee out a little bit, you can feel a pull, kind of an ankle to nuts, sort of that whole transcontinental railroad right there. You can hear it. You can hear it almost tighten up. Like if I pulled a violin stick across the inside of my leg at that point, I mean, I might just Beethoven you. You know what I'm saying? I might just hit you with that Brahms lullaby. What else, man? I had a date this weekend. I hit you with the sensual update. Still been struggling there with the dark arts on my end, And some of you guys know, if you're longtime listeners, that I've, often dealt back and forth with, dealing with masturbatory activities and, falling victim to the habit of pornography. And yeah, and I hit some turmoil there. I don't want it anymore, but I still find myself doing it. And at that point, for me, it's not a good habit. For me, it's just not a good habit at that point, and it's not really a habit anymore. At that point, it's coming something beyond that, because a habit maybe is something you could go do to enjoy yourself that can be positive. But I guess you can have a bad habit, and I guess maybe that's what it's become, is just a bad habit. But I like to stay out of it. In the internet, they keep making more pornography. Like, what has to happen to have made enough? You know what I'm saying? Does somebody, it's almost like they just need to, you need to have a couple of naked dudes driving a truck with a big, cock on the front of it, and then just have like a huge orifice in the middle of the street and them just drive it into it at top speed, kind of like on Back to the Future, and something's tied to the clock tower and the whole reaction, and then pornography breaks down. But I get caught up there, man. I get caught up there sometimes, falling into it. And then that kind of kills some of my libido and makes me not present when I'm involved with real humans. So, not to get too interpersonal right there, but that's just, part of what's going on. But yeah, I had a little bit of a date this weekend. And it was nice, man. I got some feelings. I found myself getting some feelings. And I got nervous, too, about having feelings. And so I was thinking a lot about that. About if I feel somebody cares about me, how do I feel then? And I started to realize that I don't really know what it's like to let someone care about me, I don't know how to do it. When someone usually talks about how they care about me, it's almost like I can't even hear them. And I know this, to some of you guys, this is going to sound crazy. You're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's fine. I'm not trying to explain everybody's point of view. This is just for me. And I can hear what they're saying audibly, but something inside of me shuts off where I can't feel what they're saying as they say it. So it's like I can't hear them and feel what they're saying at the same time, if that makes any sense. Like if someone expresses care for me, I don't really know how to take it in, and it's something that I think I got to get to the bottom of if I'm going to be in a comfortable relationship environment. And I wish I could explain it a little bit better than that, but I just realized that. I don't know how to be cared for by somebody, I just don't know how, because someone tells me they care, I can't feel them while I'm listening. I can't feel and listen at the same time. It's almost like I can't feel cared for, I can recognize when somebody cares, but I can't feel it very well at all. I can think back later on it myself and feel it some, but I can't feel it in the moment. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I like to check in with you guys and let you know what's going on with me. And some of the stuff people say, well, that's kind of a sad thought, well, that's not sad, really. I don't think something's sad just because it's real. I think what's real is what's most important, or I try to make that the case in my life, But yeah, I'm just trying to be on the level with you guys. We get a lot of callers here that put some of their feelings and thoughts out there, and so I don't want to be not contributing in that regard. I want to have some skin in the game. But yeah, I just notice that, man. If somebody cares about me, it's hard for me to actually feel that care. It's like my sensors are a little bit off. I can't explain it 100%, but I can explain it as much percent as I just explained it. That's for dang sure. Guys, we got some good calls. We got a man calling in about keeping my nuts. I talked about donating my nuts to science or charity or, part of my body is a meal to a foreign country, because it's hard sometimes to know people are starving and to know that you're carrying around physical items on your body or pieces of yourself that you don't think you even are benefiting the most from, and you feel like that they would almost be better served as a meal. And I know that sounds crazy, but if we'd all just been on a plane crash right now, and I'm the one serving my nuts to somebody, I bet you would all be standing in line. Okay, so don't say somebody's nuts just because, well, literally here, but don't say somebody's crazy just because they're hypothesizing something based off of reality and serious feelings. Outside of that, I got a couple of callers that called in about issues on Greyhound buses. We've all been there. I had a man take me behind a building, said he wanted to show me some artwork, and it was cock. And that was at a Greyhound bus down there in Gulfport, Mississippi. I had another dude who filled a gun with cocaine and said he was going to blow his brains out, shoot himself right up the nostril with a gun full of cocaine and a bullet. I have no idea what happened to that guy. Literally, he got off this Greyhound, never saw that man again. We got another call about a relationship. We got another call about somebody sitting in a sauna with someone else who was spraying out, and we're going to get into those calls right now. First, I want to tell you some dates. This coming Saturday, I'll be in Montreal, July 29th, 10 p.m. at Club Soda. That's where I'm performing. I'm hoping to also get on a show with Ari Shaffir, but I don't know that yet. August 10th through 13th, Dallas. Come show some love if you're even close at the Addison Improv, okay? September 21st through 24th, I'm at Hilarities in Cleveland, so come see that nasty. September 6th through the 9th, I'm at Cap City in Austin, Texas. You can come see that. And there's a rumor that Huntsville, Alabama is going to be on the schedule. And there's also a rumor that in late August, we're going to have a date in Vancouver. I'm trying to find a theater that seats about 50. Small theater. It's my first time there. If you know of one, please hit me up and recommend it. Also, this week on Allegedly, the Hollywood podcast that I do with my co-host Matthew Cole Weiss, we have James Vanderbeek. And a lot of women pleasured themselves and had posters and drawings of him up in their lives when they were young. We got him in, and so we're excited about that. You know him from Dawson's Creek, and he's also playing Diplo in a new project on Viceland. So you can check that out, and we are excited to have that man coming in the studio. So he's on there, and that'll go up this Tuesday, the 25th. Okay, man, I think that brings us to everything. As you can see, if you're on YouTube right now, you can see I got the Keeping My Squad Hydrated print. That's right behind me. Beautiful prints. You can get those online, theovon.com/store. I got this beautiful picture of Chris Farley right here, who died of overdose. Very sad. One of the funniest ever. But I appreciate you guys calling in, man. Yeah, that's kind of all that went on this weekend, And that was it, man. I just been rolling my legs that I had to use this leg roller because I've been in so much pain. Just not realizing that suddenly I am getting older. That my body is it's not a wonderland anymore. It's kind of like a local fair. It's like a local small town carnival where there's people in the back smoking cigarettes and, hiding dope and potted plants and stealing from children. things like that, stealing shit out of your car while you're out there playing games at the shoot 'em up duck game. So it's more of my body is a wonderland, and now it's more of my body is a local fair, or even just a school fair, where the best thing to have is some jump house and some confetti eggs, and it's that one chance for people to throw confetti eggs at that shitty teacher that they have. Did you ever have that fair? I did. All right, guys, let's get to some calls, man. I really appreciate it. I had some great ones last week, and this is kind of a follow-up one that's been going on. This topic's been going on a little bit, and let's get into it. Here we go.
Hey, what's up, Theo? My name is Clinton, and love your podcast, dude. I was just calling about cutting your balls off and everything.
This is Clinton here, calling about cutting my balls off. Onward, Clinton.
And I totally understand, and the focus that could be acquired if you lose those balls and stop worrying about jizzing all over boobs and stuff. But I got a little experience with that. I was, on them opiates for a while, and one thing that...
Okay, and this is Clinton on opiates, and he's in reference to, over the past few weeks, I've talked about thinking my libido gets in the way of my livelihood, of my desire to work and to be creative. And I've long thought, and I've just voiced it recently, that if I were to eliminate my weenie and scrotum and whatever's in my scrotum, nuts, and more. There's more in your nuts than just nuts in there. They don't tell you whatever else is in there, but there's extra in there. But if I were to, take that off of my body, have it removed and mailed off to another country, where they could even use it as a delectable, as a meal for people that are starving, or as just something for science if they need to. I've thought that would be better use than to be carrying this meal around between my legs. But anyway, this is Clinton on opiates, or has been on opiates, and he's talking about it. Here we go.
But I got a little experience with that. I was, on them opiates for a while, and one thing that those do is they just take away your sex drive entirely. And, in the beginning, that was great. It was great for focus. I'm a musician, helped me focus a lot on my career.
This is musical Clinton. Onward.
And on that art form. But the thing is, man, that focus, it turns into something different, because your balls are part of your heart. And you need your heart to make art.
Okay, we got Clinton, opiates, talking about balls, cutting them off. You need your heart to make art. This is getting a little bit Dr. Seussy, but I'm riding your vibe. Let's finish it out here.
And if you're just going straight out of the brain, and there's no semen flowing in those thoughts, then it's going to be obvious, and you're going to come to a point where you just don't feel inspired. So I know it seems like something that's just in the way and something that's annoying, but you just got to learn to deal with it and control it, or whatever, do the best you can.
Thank you, Clint. I appreciate the call, man. And sometimes I think I need this. I need people to fortify when I'm, not thinking the best thoughts for myself, because, this is the second caller, maybe the third even we've had about, me not wanting to donate part of my body or crotch to, to get rid of my libido. And your take on it is appreciated, man. So you're saying that you eliminated your sex drive using opiates, long-term use or semi-long-term use. And at first it was good because it helped you focus on your music, but then it got bad because it killed your libido so much that that wasn't part of your art, your manliness or your vibe, your nut stream. And that's valid, man. I mean, I guess maybe you're right. Maybe if I didn't have, I could start to feel more effeminate, or just emasculated, which would just be feeling the loss of a masculinity and not even feeling effeminate, really just feeling the loss of my manhood. Maybe that would really bring me down as a person, Yeah, my art might not have a direction it was coming from. It might not be coming from a man's direction. So those are good points, man, and I appreciate that. Maybe it's just some stuff I'm going through where I just, I'm trying to find excuses for not getting my work done. And I blame some of those things on the fact that, sometimes I have a libido that, I want to look at the paperwork, but my libido wants to look at that ass, or be a part of some tits that's on the internet, or be looking at some of these ladies that's showing their bung holes, or, being wild. people that's trying to show you their, just show you all their ideas, show you all their ideas that they keep in their pants. And sometimes I think, that just distracts me. But I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you thinking about it, and I appreciate you, having that vote of confidence. And I appreciate you, it sounds like the opiates were part of your past. So I appreciate you getting through that, and good luck with that, man. I hope that keeps going well. And good luck with your music, man. All right. So that's that. Maybe we keep the nuts, and maybe I just get over that hump. And I think maybe this is something I could talk to a therapist about, why I even feel that way, why I even feel that desire. Let's take another call here.
What up, Mr. Theo? This is your boy, Travis.
Your boy, Travis. Now, I knew a boy growing up named Ravis, and it was supposed to be Travis, but they didn't write all the letters on the certificate when he was born, and he was Ravis. But this is Travis. Take it away, Travis.
Calling from Portland, Oregon. Calling about some crazy bus rides.
Crazy bus rides. Now, I'm going to stop you right there because I've had some. I used to work on a soybean, cotton, and corn farm along the Mississippi-Louisiana border, right along the Mississippi River over there, Vidalia, Waterproof, Faraday, home of Jerry Lee Lewis, and Natchez, all in that area. It was my good friend's sister's family farm. And that's where I met Slack Ronnie that almost cut off my leg too, if you want to go back and listen to that story. But I noticed when I was over there that shit, dude, what are we even talking about? God, I think I just got a damn cinnamon in my brain in the shower. The water's been kind of dirty. Let's hear this one more time, dude.
About some crazy bus rides.
Oh, bus rides. So, dude, when I would bus ride, I would ride from down there in Louisiana where I lived up to the farm to work. And on that bus, man, they always had a lot of people. Here's who's on the bus. Children that are going between poor parents a lot of times are on the bus. Like a parent is like, okay, I'll send them to you. It's your weekend or your week or your summer with them. Here you go. Poor people. There's a lot of poverty on the bus. And then people that just got out of prison, jail. Also, a lot of like church groups and stuff that are trying to save money. Things like that. Long distance travelers that are trying to save money. So that's kind of your conglomerate that you have on there. You always have an angry driver who is, it's often a black man or woman, and somebody can go to bat with me on that if they want to. I'm not trying to be racist, but I'm going to be statistically accurate. Okay. I've ridden on probably 108 hounds. 108 times. It was a kind of a black hardy man or black hardy woman. One time we stopped by a man's, family reunion for about 45 minutes, dude, on the way there. And everybody got out, and some people were pissed, and some people just smoked cigarettes and just stayed out of the heat. But I've been on those buses, man. And a lot of times they'll have a homosexual gentleman on there who's passing you notes. They have a girl who's, selling hats or some bullshit. Everybody's asking for money. I mean, everybody who walks to the back to go to the bathroom is asking for money. And you really are just surviving. It's basically it's like Survivor, that game show, but it's on a bus, and you paid for the experience. And you can also find me on Sunday night. I will troll the Greyhound Bus Help Twitter feed, and I'll retweet some tweets out of that, and it gets pretty wild. But I had a man on there take me behind a building, said he was selling artwork, and he was showing out his cock. I had another man on there who threatened a woman, said he was sick of everything, poured a bunch of cocaine into the barrel of a gun, got off the bus, said he was going to go shoot himself right in the nose. What else did we have on there, dude? I had some other fellows that sat next to me and tried to get wild. I kissed a young black gal, African-American woman on a train one time, on a bus one time, a road train. And that's pretty much it. Those are some of my stories for now. But let's hear yours. Let's take it away.
One time I was taking a bus from Sacramento back home to Portland. Greyhound, of course. Anytime you're on Greyhound, you never know what's going to happen, really.
Amen, brother. Onward.
So, yeah, I was working for this guy. ended up growing a lot of bud for him. Turned out to be a piece of shit, so I ended up taking about 1.5 pounds of bud.
Copping your rent, huh? Copping your rent's worth. Onward.
Hid it in my bag, suitcase, bottom of my suitcase. No problems. No canines, nothing.
So we got no problems. We got about 1.5 pounds of weed on a Greyhound bus, leaving a job where you didn't feel like you were appreciated. Let's keep it savvy. Go.
So the ride was smooth, but I was talking to this dude right before we even got onto the bus. We were talking about bud or whatever. And as soon as we got on the bus, we're talking this and that. He's like, yeah, man, I got a pipe, if you want to, hit in the bathroom real quick. I'm like, want that smell? Won't they smell it? He's like, nah, man.
Wow. So let me tell you, a Greyhound bus, first of all, is like a bathroom. So if you go to the bathroom on a Greyhound bus, you're going double bathroom, bro. That's double. I mean, that's like hiding in the throat of the devil and then choosing to snuggle up inside of his voice box. You feel me? Let's keep this savvy. Go.
So he hands it to me wrapped in like a bandana or something. I go into the bathroom and it's a damn meth pipe. This dude gave me a damn meth pipe.
So he hitting you with that griddle. He trying to put you on that griddle, He trying to have you grill yourself. What'd you do here? Let's hear it.
I was kind of tripping. I was like, oh, I thought this dude was talking about weed. I hit the pipe and...
Okay. So you hit the pipe anyway, bruh. Look, dude, I respect it. You're out there in the game. You got to, if they put you in the game, sometimes you got to dribble the ball, So you're on a... But here's my question is, you had 1.5 pounds of weed hidden. They gave you the meth pipe. Do you have to hit? Couldn't you have just smoked a little bit of that weed? That's kind of what's wild to me about it. But let's hear it up. Sorry, go on.
I was kind of tripping. I was like, oh, I thought this dude was talking about weed. I hit the pipe, and long story short, didn't sleep the whole damn ride. And this dude, he was just going back and forth, crazy stories. And anyways, man, I don't know. It was a pretty cool experience,
Okay. So there you go. That was a bus experience that he had navigating the nation's roadways via auto bus. And I wonder, man, it's, you get that, it's one thing that's funny, and I'm going to relate to you here, and I appreciate the call, man. I do appreciate you calling and sharing. I've never been on the methamphetamines or even taken a surprise hit of it. I have a family member who smoked some meth one time and went rock climbing and actually ended up climbing their way up to a nudist colony where she and her boyfriend stayed up there and had lunch with the locals. But that was out in Arizona, outside of Tucson, I believe. Anyhow, yeah, man, you on the Greyhound bus. And sometimes what I notice is you got to fit in with your environment, okay? Because say you sit there with the dude, right? And I'm going to picture this dude. Probably white dude, dice on his neck, tatted dice, Probably got a bunch of, like tennis shoes, like wrapped around his neck, hanging off the laces, Got 6 bandanas, got a bandana on each kneecap. Even his kneecaps were in rival gangs, so he probably walk all bow-legged because his knees can't get along, He got some kind of Jordans, or double Jordans, he got it all. He's all clipped up and gripped up. And I can see that, And if you're in that environment, sometimes if you sit next to that guy on the bus, you got to play that game. Because if you play I'm too good for this, I'm better than this, I can't relate, that's when shit gets weird. That's when the dude's like, I'm going to rob this guy, And that, I think, is that's a lot of what you see a lot of in the world today. In America is that people can't relate to each other because people don't want to sit next to each other on that bus. Some people want to be up in first class and pretend they know what's going on in coach, or vice versa. And so I think if you're on that Greyhound bus, you got to get in sometimes where you don't fit in. Because you got to get to where you're going. That sometimes the means justify the end. Or the end justifies the means. I don't know what it is, bro. I might be metaphorically dyslexic. But But that's real, man, and I respect it, dude. You were out there and you stayed the course and you got done what you had to do and you got where you had to go. And you caught an experience, and that's the thing. You know, I'll be on the Greyhound sometimes, and if them boys start hitting on me, them sugar boys, I let them hit. I stand in the batter's box, okay? If they hitting on me, I'll stand in the batter's box. Because the last thing I want is to get laced up on some kind of drug, and the next thing you know, I'm at some, bus stop looking at artwork, and I get banged up by a couple of dudes I don't know. And that's the kind of stuff that happens. Sometimes you have to fit in. You have to get in where you don't fit in. And so I applaud you, man. I don't, obviously, the smoke and the meth, not a good idea. It doesn't sound like you're on it. And I'd hope that you're not. But, it doesn't sound like you had a pound and a half of weed and, just some meth showed up. So you opted for that. But whatever, you fit in where you had to fit in. Because it probably would have been scary as hell sleeping all night next to old dude, and you don't know what he's thinking about. Because 1 out of 70 people on the Greyhound just got out of prison, dude. Prison. I'm not talking about, down the street lockup. I'm talking about one of these prisons that they pick them up in a rural town, and then they're on the bus. Some of the first people they ever see are on a Greyhound bus. I think every Greyhound bus should have to pull in to wherever they produce the show Forensic Files and get tested. Because we could solve half of the nation's murders right there. Thank you for going Hound. Let's hit this next call right here. And pop.
Hey, Theo, this is Trevor from California again. I got cut off because I was rambling too much in that last message. But I think I cut off right where the first story of the sauna interaction. So, again, I was sitting in the sauna reading my books, and a guy comes in, older guy comes in.
Okay, this is Trevor. Trevor had actually called in last week about nationalism. We had a discussion about that, and then he'd said that some men had really approached him in some saunas at different times. And Trevor believes in one world and, globalization and, the fact that, we should... and I'm paraphrasing here, Trevor, and this is one of the problems with not having a back and forth call ability, which we are trying to get. I promise you. I'm trying to get it. But one of the problems with not having that is that I have to paraphrase sometimes. But Trevor, believes in that one world, that globalization, the fact that we can all get along together. But I asked him, he had mentioned that he had been in some saunas where men was getting gentle. Where men was, letting their own nature start to flourish in front of him. And so I want to hear a little bit more about that. So let's go.
Reading my books, and a guy comes in, older guy comes in, and just in the peripheral, in the corner of the eye type stuff. And anyway, so I'm sitting there reading my book. The guy comes in. I'm just reading normally, and then I hear a little bit of commotion over there. I look over, and the guy's basically jacking it in the corner.
So this man's jerking it out. This man's, you know what I'm saying, dust in that chair leg, if you will, in the corner of this sauna. All right, onward.
Just right in front of me, and I'm sitting there reading a book, and I say to the guy, "What are you doing?" And the guy looks up at me.
Oh, so you played the old "I don't know" card, the old "What are you doing?" Let's go.
And literally responds. I thought he was just going to stop, but he doesn't really stop, but he says, "It's okay." And I said, "No, it's not." And I walked out, and...
Wow, so he said, "It's okay." You said, "No, it's not." It's really kind of great because it sounds like an after school, one of those videos you see of what to do if somebody's jerking off in the sauna. And they used to do act outs too. In our town, they didn't have a lot of the video, so they would bring this sexual deviance group from the local jail when I was young, and they would act out different scenarios and teach you how to say no and how to not let somebody, beat you up or molest you or something like that. And they would do like a performance art of it. Pretty wild because you had these men who were in their 40s and 50s dressed up like young kids and stuff, but I guess it was effective. I don't even know. But anyhow, so this man was spraying out or finding, searching himself for nut via his pleasure zones, and you didn't want it. You didn't want it. You called him out on it. And then what happened? Let's hear more.
Yeah, just I told the owner of the sauna that, hey, there's a dude just kind of exposing himself and being inappropriate.
Okay, so I'll just stop you there. So you ratted him out. You ratted him out, and I get it. It's a sauna, you're paying to be there. Some dudes, peeking. Some dude's peeking on his, some dude's peeking out with his own seed. Some dude's playing lighthouse with his body, making lighthouse out of his crotch. Then yeah, I get it, man. And to rat him out to the manager, I think you have to really kind of maybe let him learn his lesson in there. And somebody's gonna teach him that that's not appropriate. And sometimes that's what those people need to learn. Because what does the man do when you go tell the YMCA director? He throws him out. And then this man goes jerky. Captain Jerko goes back to his car and just puts another X on a building where he's not allowed to jerk off. Okay? Well, what happens, Trevor, when he gets all the X's filled in on his little jerk-off bingo card? You know what I'm saying? When he hits that blackout. Then the only space left to jerk off is outdoors. And that's when that's when I think it escalates and anything can be possible. So maybe you should have taught that dude, try to teach him a little something. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how you do that. You could have used like some mind tricks or really set him straight. But maybe you should have taught him a little lesson. I appreciate you sharing the call, though. To take it back to a globalization now, Trevor, you got to think about this. If we just let everybody in all the time, everybody going to be jerking off in your sauna. Imagine you're in your sauna, bro. You're trying to read a book. You having them luxuries. I call that luxuries, man. When you're in a homemade hot room, when you got your own little private Tahiti, when you got a 15 square foot Tahiti inside of a gym and you're reading a book, novella and up, and they got another man next to you jerking off that you don't know. I mean, that's a luxury. So to think that that's occurring, man, if we go to globalization, bro, everybody's going to be doing that. You can have people banging on the door outside of that who want a piece of your luxury. And, I think that's one thing about that we didn't get to discuss, and I'd love to discuss it in the future. I know this is a one-sided discussion. I'm not trying to preach at you or judge you or make fun of you, Trevor. I appreciate you calling. But we got to be willing to share if we're going to care, we got to share. If we're going to care, we got to share, dude. And are we really willing to share? Are the comfortable really willing to share? I don't know, man. But I appreciate that call, man. I appreciate that call 100%. All right, let's get a little bit of diversification this evening and crack into this twisted nutshell right here that just fell off the world branch into our ear earth. You feel me? Let's catch this nut, dude. Let's catch this nut in our ears. You know what I'm saying? Let's listen to the sweet skeet sounds of this young lady right here hitting the hotline. Thank you.
Hey, Theo. It's Chrissy calling from Raleigh, North Carolina. And my husband and I love your show. We tune into it as often as we can.
Okay, we got Prissy or Chrissy. I couldn't hear which one fully, but Prissy or Chrissy. Thank you guys for hitting the hotline. Let's go.
And I really appreciate how you talk a lot and have mentioned in the past many times about maturing emotionally and the importance of really like healing relationships and strengthening relationships with other people.
Well, yeah, certainly. I appreciate you saying that. I bring it up a good bit. I'm trying to learn, and I often don't think I'm doing a good job, but I am trying. I'm making an effort. I feel like it's important. Let's keep going.
And that's like exactly what my husband and I have been going through. We just kind of hit a point where we had to up our level of communication and stop making so many assumptions about why the other one was doing or saying what they were doing, and really strip down to the core love that's between us and to up our communication in order to better understand one another and, again, drop those assumptions.
Yeah. I mean, when people get too close sometimes, it's weird. You get too close, you spend too much time together, and you almost get too used to each other in a way. Where if anything feels a little bit off, then that becomes an issue. Where normally, if you aren't spending too much time together, then, if something's a little off, you don't matter. It doesn't matter as much because you still appreciate it because you're still, you're just happy to be around the person. So sometimes that can be just a matter of a length of time, I think. But then also you're talking to a guy who, hasn't been in a committed relationship successfully, what I consider success. Haven't been really honest in any committed relationship I don't think I've been in. And I don't think I've allowed myself really to be in them at a lot of times wholeheartedly. Onward.
So my question to you is this. So through this communication, my husband and I have both agreed to kind of call each other out on things, to just point out where we might be making assumptions about the other person or making reactions or saying or doing things that aren't necessarily kind or loving as a result of misunderstanding one another. So kind of like pointing out each other's shortcomings. And we both agreed to do this for one another. However, when I try to do this for my husband, in the moment, he really doesn't want to hear it, and he fights against it and almost makes it seem like I'm the one that's being unkind when all that I'm doing is showing him what he has asked me to show him.
Wow. First of all, this sounds like it should be recorded and put onto the web for other people to enjoy. Two people agreeing to expose each other's shortcomings at the moment that those shortcomings come to a head, at the moment those shortcomings bubble to the top of the pot, sounds extremely dangerous. This sounds North Korean. This sounds like a dumpster fire, if you will, dude. This sounds like two cats, just ripping each other's hair out, in a dumpster, while another man is outside of the dumpster filling the dumpster up with water and gasoline. This just sounds like a danger, where danger lurks. Like, say if somebody's like, hey, come over here. And I'm like, what's over there? And they're like, danger lurks over here. And then I get over there, I would see you guys doing this. That's what this seems like to me. I'm going to hear you out here. Thanks for the call. Onward.
Which outside of that moment, he's open to hearing about, but in the moment, which is where we're trying to, nip things in the bud a little bit, he just doesn't really want to hear it. He takes it as me being critical or putting him down or saying something rude or mean to him or harsh. It's just hard for him to hear it when I'm not.
Okay, and I'll stop it right there, and I appreciate the call. I mean, it's a real thing. It's like you guys are trying to, solve some of your relationship issues by, when things arise that you already have agreed bug you to bring it up, to hit that button right then, But it sounds like that just can't. I don't know how that can it sounds like it's just going to lead to an endless world of arguing and discussing. And it sounds like what you guys want to do is love each other better, love each other the best you can. So I think what you got to do is just love each other and not bring those things up, and they shouldn't be festering. If those things are festering inside of you, in the end, it's more you, I think, than it is, or it's you or it's him or it's you guys as individuals than it is as a relationship. Because anytime you start saying this person should do this or this person should do that, usually you have to adjust what your expectations are. I mean, I think, and I know of course you can expect a great deal out of your significant other, your spouse, the one that's catching your spread, at night. But you can't expect things to be, you can't expect to get there by nitpicking, I don't think. And even if the nitpicks are serious, I think you just got to love each other. I think you just got to love the balls off of each other. I dated a girl for a little while, had a beard one time. She had kind of a light beard. And this burned me sometimes, But I just had to see past the love. I couldn't, every time I caught an angle of the light and it was hitting that beard, I couldn't, get angry at her, or call her Wayne Newton. I couldn't do that kind of stuff, or call her, Travis Tritt, or call her Wheeler Walker Jr. I just had to accept the little bit of beard that I was seeing at that angle when the light hit her face. And so a lot of it's about acceptance. And whether you're in a relationship or married, or whether you dating somebody that has a light beard, you just have to accept it. Because if every time that beard starts showing up in your relationship, you try to shave it, or you try to tell them, hey, I see your beard, shave it, that's uncomfortable. It's going to get weird. It's never going to end. Because that hair, it's never going to stop growing. So the best thing you can do is just love them and say, hey world, I'm dating this slightly surprised bearded motherfucker right here. And I appreciate the call. Thank you very much for calling in. God bless. Happy to have you guys on this past weekend, baby. All right, man. What else can we hit here? I think I got one other caller that hit the hotline. Let me see what we got here. All right.
Theo Von, how you doing, man? This is Richard
This is Richard right here. Go ahead, Richard.
Over in St. Louis, Missouri.
Old St. Louis Richard. Under the arches, they call him. The old Arch Richard. Old back support Richard right here. Let's hit it, Richard. Go on.
Sweating, melting over here. It's hot. Hey, I love the podcast. Never miss an episode. I got to wondering, though. You never mentioned food. I don't think I've ever heard you mention any kind of food you eat, any kind of food you like, any kind of food you don't like. Some days I'm watching a podcast and I'm like, dang, this dude probably ate nothing but chili dogs all day long. But then other days I'm like, man, he looks like he had a nice salad, some refreshing beverages, or, kind of strange. But I was just getting ready to eat dinner and I'm not sure what to eat, and I thought, wonder what Theo Von eats. Anyways, man, love the podcast. I tell everybody I know about it. It's great, man. Awesome. Love you, dude. Bye.
Love you too, Richard. And that is, I guess we can call him Restaurant Richard right there, who wants to know what I'm eating. What do I eat? At first I was just going to be like, man, Richard, that is just the weirdest shit ever that you care what I eat. I was like, this guy's a creep. This guy is someone who is, one of those calorie watchers, who watches what you eat and writes it down on a notepad, who's sitting in the distance while you're trying to eat. But now I think about it, and it kind of felt pretty good that you cared, man. I appreciate you caring, dude. I do. What do I eat, man? I have a lot of smoothies because I don't really like to eat that much. I get a little bored over time of eating. I work a lot, and I'm running around a lot out here in Los Angeles, and so it's hard sometimes to come back home all the time because of traffic. So you don't really get that time to eat all the time your home-cooked meals. I like small oranges, those little oranges, cuties, tangerines, tangelos, different types. What do I like? I like a banana sometimes. I like apples with peanut butter, Sometimes I get a damn Capri Sun, Outside of that, I like water, Sometimes I have me some ice cream. I'm a little lactose intolerant, so I'll hang with the sherbets. But I like different types of meat, some brisket, some fish. I like a flaky fish, something white, wahoo, mahi-mahi, Every now and then, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, I'll get a little bit of sushi. I go heavy on the wasabi with a lighter soy sauce, that low sodium. If you're still rocking high sodium soy sauce, dude, that's the damn oxycodone of Japan right there. Get the green top, okay? Go light sodium. Now, when I'm at home in Louisiana, I have whatever they got. You know what I'm saying? I let somebody just dip a catfish in a vat of mayonnaise and just beat me in the back of the throat with it. Because I like to have them Louisiana snacks. I like different vegetables. I'll eat a salad sometimes with no dressing on it, just plain. I like it like that. Also, I don't eat a lot of cheese. I like cheese, but I know that if I like it a lot, something's wrong, because then I'll just eat cheese. Sometimes I just wish I could just have cookies with cheese on them. But you can't have that. It's not good for you. You know, I like an avocado. When I was young, my daddy used to eat avocados. He'd cut them in half, take the pit out, fill each half with mayonnaise, and eat those with a spoon, eat it out of the rind. And I remember sometime I'd sneak over there by him, and he'd give me a little mouthful of that avo mayo. And that was a good time. Reminds me of being young. When it comes to desserts, I like coconut cake. I like Boston cream pie. I like coconut cream pie. I like a creme brulee, boy. You could find me in the dessert club, okay? Sugar Busters is for motherfuckers. All right? I don't mind a chocolate pudding, dude. You know? If I got to go cake, I usually like to go a German chocolate. I like a king cake around the holidays. That's a Louisiana tradition. And I like that creme brulee. And I like that bread pudding. Any type of bread pudding. I don't care you got raisins in it, dude. I'll be in it. And that's what I like. I appreciate you calling. Appreciate everybody calling this week, man. We're going to hit the hotline. I'm going to get you guys out of here. It's been a good time. Hit the hotline, man. Let me know what you guys want to talk about, what you guys think. What else? What can we talk about for next week, man? It's August. You know, it's almost August. I'm going to be in Montreal next weekend. We can talk about the Canadians if you want, if you got some thoughts on the Canadians. We can talk about summertime traditions. Does your family have a unique summertime tradition? We could talk about, we talked about the bus and being on drugs and, that man trying to show me his artwork around the side of the building. And maybe if somebody's ever surprised you, you thought you was maybe getting a hit off of a pipe or a hit off of a dime sack, and then they surprise you with some breast or some wiener. We can talk about that. If some fellas are out there having tough times with some manhood stuff, maybe we get back into some manhood. I'd love to do that. What's going on, some of you guys? How you feeling? What are you struggling with? You struggling with drugs? You struggling with alcohol? You struggling with women? Just share it, man. Sometimes you got to let it out. Set it on somebody else's shoulders. I got 2 of them right here if you need them. And that's it, man. I just hit 1 year sober. I don't talk about that much because I don't know if I will be that forever. But for the time being, it's, it's a part of my life. I just don't want, it doesn't define me. I don't know what that is in my life, but for right now, it's something that's working for me and that feels good. But I don't care if you are or you are not. I'm not here to judge you, man. I'm just trying to be one of you. I don't have to be right. I hope not anyway. And when I start feeling like I have to, that's when I know something's wrong with me. But I appreciate you guys calling, man. I love you. And this is good, man. And this has been this past week, and I'll see you guys next Monday. Thank you very much. Take us out. Celebrate living, celebrate misery. Know that soon we're gonna die. Let's have some fun while we all die. This is Spencer Jacob Grau Band. Be good to yourselves, man. Let's try that, huh? Let's stick together. Stick it out. We got this, man. Be good to yourselves. I bet you deserve it.